Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today, before we get started, I wanted to mention something really quickly. I plan on doing a Q&A next week, planning on Tuesday, but I hate making promises because that's when I usually fail. So I'm planning on doing a Q&A on Tuesday. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments below. As it gets closer, or usually like the day before I go ahead and film it, I will hit up all of my social media pages and ask for questions there. So if you want to wait until then, you can do that. And if you don't know where to follow me on like Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat, then all of that information is in the description box down below, as well as the link to my vlogging channel in case you didn't know that I had one. So today's video, as you can tell by the title, is kind of like my first unofficial storytime video. I'm very today. I'm very casual. A couple weeks ago when I did the husband tag with Michael, I left a little note in the description saying that I was thinking about doing a story time video, just kind of talking about how we met and a little bit of our history together, how we went from high school sweethearts to married and been married for coming up on 8 years in August. And you guys said you wanted to see it, so I'm going for it. I think it kind of fits too because we're a couple days away from Valentine's Day. I don't know, it's just the perfect time to talk about love. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into this video. I apologize in advance if it's frustratingly long. Michael and I met in high school. My freshman year, I signed up for a program called JROTC, which stood for Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. It was a military-based elective, essentially, and it was for people who thought they were interested in joining the military. I had no interest in doing so. However, I did hear that because you march around in that class, that kind of counted toward your PE credit for the year and you wouldn't have to join PE. So I was all about that. Michael is a year and a half older than me, but he was 2 grade levels older than me. So when I was a freshman, he was a junior. When you go to your class for JROTC, you have a senior student or a junior student who's essentially like the TA for the teacher. She'll like take attendance and help the teacher out, and again, it's just supposed to center around that military lifestyle. Well, my teacher, or my flight commander is what it was called, was a girl that I had known from middle school, and we kind of had some beef in the past. I was never a fighter, but like I was picked on by her kind of like indirectly. She just kind of participated in a group that didn't like me. So I had no intentions of getting to know her more or hang out with her. I wanted just to keep it as professional as possible, for lack of a better word. And this is where I first met Michael because she was dating Michael at the time. When the bell would ring, he would come and then walk her to her next class. So this is where I first like saw Michael and understood who Michael was. Their relationship was kind of toxic, so they were off and on all the time. And then on top of that, Michael was super sought after by a lot of the popular girls, so the last thing I was gonna do was like talk to him or try to pursue him. To become a flight commander or to hold any leadership position in junior ROTC, you had to attend some summer activities the summer before. So freshman year came and went, it was the summer going into sophomore year, and I signed up to start my training because at this point I was super into it, and even if I wasn't going to join the military, I was just like, yes, like I want this, I want to do this, I want to be cool and cool. So cool, Ivana, but I wanted to be like up there. I wanted the power. And it involved a bunch of different parts. There was some times where we had to go to our local base. There was some training at our high school, and then there were some volunteer opportunities that you can attend with the rest of JROTC. Where I first spoke to Michael was at one of the like little training classes. This training class took place at our high school, and we were just there to learn more about how to drill and lead so that when the next year came up, we were better at teaching the new students. I liked to play a game called Speed. You get a deck of cards and you like match the cards. It's a 2-player game. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but I really like to play Speed, and Michael really liked to play 21. So he saw me with the cards, and I can never really explain his thought process. He probably doesn't even remember it back in the day, but I guess by some like crazy twist of fate, he was attracted to me that day. Because he came over and kind of initiated a conversation purely about cards. He was about to be a senior, super sought after by all the popular girls, had a ton of different girlfriends in between this off and on relationship with a girl who was relatively popular as well. So he was definitely a flirt. So I was not buying his crap at all. I was like, yeah, you can play cards, bro, but I'm gonna beat your butt. So we just kind of played cards and stuff, and He was good at 21 and he thought I found that impressive. It was okay. Fast forward a couple weeks from that, I signed up to volunteer at a jazz festival. I had no idea who else was going. I just signed up. Me and my foster sister at the time signed up together. So we show up and Michael's there. He's obviously, like I said, gonna be a senior, so he has a leadership position. And all the leaders go around picking different people for their groups. When it came turn for Michael, he picked me first to be on his team, and the first thing I thought, like maybe I didn't physically do it, but in the back of my head I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a long day. Because this guy is just gonna mess with me, and I've been messed with a lot and I just didn't want to be messed with. He picked me for his group. We went over and stood in front of this section that we were just supposed to hand out pamphlets or answer any questions that people had. He started asking me really in-depth questions about like my family and I don't know, like the pets that I had, my siblings, just a whole bunch of questions. What I like to do for fun, the kind of music that I like. Almost like he was just genuinely trying to get to know me, and that's something that very few people, not very many guys, had done at that point. So he kind of won me over a little bit with that genuine interest in who I was, not just like, hey baby, you're hot. He was like legitimately asking questions about who I was. At the end of that event, he ended up slipping a bag into my purse and asking me to hold on to it for him. And him being my commanding officer, I was just kind of required to say like yes, and so I did. And then as I was leaving, I went to go give it back to him and he said, I need you to take it home and I want you to keep it. And at the same time, my mom was in the car like, honk honk, let's go Ivana. So I was like, okay, and then I left, and when I opened it up at home, it was this like fake gold, but you know, still sweet, fake gold bracelet with a really pretty pink flower on it. I still have it somewhere and I was hoping to have it for this video, but I think it's in Michael's memory box instead of mine, so I don't have it, but I still saved it because to me it was like the start of our relationship in a way, even if we were just talking to each other. We talked for about like a month. And there was a while where I thought he was ignoring me, he thought I was ignoring him. I was just like not swooning over him the way every girl he had ever talked to usually did, so he was kind of taken back by that. And when he was taken back by that, he thought I wasn't interested, and I was like, okay bro, then like I think you're not interested. So we ended up clearing everything up. I had obviously liked guys before him, but I'd never been able to just be honest about my feelings or communicate, and with Michael I just had no problem. I was like, yeah dude, I like you, and like if you're available, let's do this, I want to date. A lot better than that, a lot more eloquent than that, but basically I was able to be very bold with him. After talking for about like 6 weeks, we went to homecoming together, and that's where he asked me to be his girlfriend. And I remember we had never held hands before that, and I have sweaty hanatosis, and so when I held his hand I was like, oh my god. The first thing I said to him was like, I have really sweaty hands, just to let you know. And he's like, don't worry, I do too. But everybody says that and they don't have sweaty hands like me. So yeah, that was the start of our relationship, and this is one of the pages in my scrapbook that I made when I was younger, so excuse the childish but that's me. That's him and I at the military ball, which is like a dance. This is him and I. You were just allowed to take annual photos, kind of like spring pictures type of thing. And that was him like on a field trip that we went to. With Michael, I was like for sure head over heels, and before him I had honestly never had a legitimate boyfriend. I had just started dating, kind of like holding hand dating, hadn't kissed a boy. So we started dating in October. Eventually, because Michael was 2 grade levels older than me, he graduated. He didn't go straight into the military. He stood around and actually tried going to an institute. That sounds like he went to a mental institute. A technical institute, that's what it's called. And it's kind of funny because it was called UTI, which is usually urinary tract infection, but it was Universal Technical Institute. That was him. He would go to school, I would go to school, he would stop by my house after school, and we would just live and love our lives because things were so simple and our problems were so small. After a while, the Technical Institute lost their accreditation and he was devastated. He was actually very good at it. He used to get straight A's in all of his classes and like really liked working with cars, which comes in handy every now and then. But he decided to go ahead and join the military because he was so disappointed. He couldn't afford to attend a regular university, not just in the sense of like tuition, but in the sense of housing and stuff like that. So he decided to join the Navy. We were hoping for the Air Force, but the Air Force was like a 7-month waiting list, so he joined the Navy. I handmade these little invitations and invited all of his friends over for a going away party. Chris from Chris and Christina's channel, Beauty by CeeLo, actually attended that party. We knew him in JROTC. So yeah, he was at that party and we wished Michael a farewell. So he did a good job and he graduated. Their training camp, or his training camp, was in Chicago. So I flew out there with my mom and got to visit him. And this is where Michael first proposed to me, and I say first because there's more coming later. He had asked my parents, he had written them a letter and let them know that he really wanted to marry me, and my parents were totally against it. My mom is the one who convinced my dad and just kind of said like, look, if we don't let her do this, she's gonna do it eventually and then we're gonna like never see her again. So even if we don't agree with it, we have to let her make her own mistakes and we have to let her like do what she wants to do, which thank you for that, Mom, because just thank you. So when I went to go visit him in Chicago, he took me to Zales. We bought a ring. He took me to the pier. I think it's called the Navy Pier that sits on Lake Michigan. And he got down on one knee and he gave me a ring and he asked me to marry him. And I remember him giving this cute little speech about how his dad had told him that you put the ring on your ring finger because it's the only one that has a vein that leads to his heart. That every time I look down at the ring, I can keep him in my heart, or something similar to that. So I still remember what he had told me and promised me, and so it was very special and a very beautiful place in my opinion to get engaged, and I kind of wish that was our only engagement because like nailed it. That was a good story. After that I had to go back to high school because homegirl was still a senior. Actually I was a junior. Yeah, I still had some time. I remember everybody laughing at me when I told them I was engaged. They all told me I was gonna like ruin my life. That I was gonna end up getting pregnant right out of high school and ruining my life. Not nice. You shouldn't say that to people. You should just let them live their lives, okay? So Michael would come back and visit me as often as he could. It might be too shiny, but this is us like going to SeaWorld back before I realized that it was Satan's palace. Don't go to SeaWorld. And then this is Disneyland. We went to Disneyland so much because his brother worked there, and so we got free tickets like all the time. And before that, Michael worked there. When we were in high school, Michael worked at Disneyland. Here's more Disneyland. We were just so little. That's my mom, me, and Michael. We were so little. Then there's a blank page here for a very specific reason, because there was a dark time in our story. So he was able to visit for a while, but then there was a point where he couldn't visit anymore. We hadn't physically seen each other for coming up on a year, and right around that time, probably about like 10-ish months, we broke up. There's a million reasons why, and it hurt me for so long why and how we broke up. Looking back at it, it was essential in making our relationship what it is now, and as much as it hurt at the time, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I was just about to graduate senior year. It was like 3 or 4 months before graduation, and when you're in a long distance relationship for a long time, you kind of look for things to justify your love and to confirm your love for one another, and you can get really controlling, and we were very controlling with each other. He didn't want me hanging around with any guys regardless of how long I've known them or how long I was friends with them or what the situation was. Like school projects, nothing. He didn't want me going out and doing certain things, and same here. I didn't want him going out to dinner with his friends or going anywhere I felt left out and neglected, and we just felt like we were living completely different lives. And also after that long, you kind of feel like, okay, maybe I can live without this person, because you're already going through all the feelings of losing them because they're not with you. And we tried. I mean, we would fall asleep on the phone with each other just to feel like we were close. But after a year of not seeing each other at that age, at 17 and like 19. It was not working out. So we ended up breaking up. Wasn't the prettiest of breakups, but I don't think it was the ugliest of breakups either. Nobody cheated on anybody. There was just a like day where one of us broke each other's trust, and after that it was just like it wasn't happening. It just wasn't gonna happen. So we broke up for about 3 months, and during that time, and when we got back together, it was just like the grossest thing to think that he had kissed another girl. But I try to remember that I'm sure it hurt him that I had kissed another guy, and that, like, not that you need to do that before you get married, but I had been dating him since I was 15 and a half years old. So if I was 15 and a half and looking at myself now, I'm 26, to say, like, yeah, I've been with that same guy since I was 15 and a half, I think that would have been a little bit rough, and it would have, like, messed with my head mentally. I think I would have wanted to go out and explore more. Thankfully, I don't. So that's why I say, like, even though it sucked, it was almost necessary and imperative to, you know, keeping our relationship where it is today. Like I said, there were a lot of reasons why we broke up, and one of them was that, like, our parents do not get along for anything. And so his mom wasn't really happy that he was dating me, and I think that had a lot to do with it. He had a lot of support in breaking up with me instead of support when staying with me. So he was in town shortly after I had graduated, and I think I saw it on, I don't know where I saw it, because he blocked me on like every social media page ever. He ended up contacting me and asking if I wanted to go see him. And I remember talking to my mom and asking her if it was a good idea, and she said, like, it's up to me again. Good looking out, Mom. But she did say that you want to make sure that if you do get back together, it's not like last time, that you guys aren't controlling each other, that you want to be with each other, that you're not restricting each other. So I remember getting as dolled up as I possibly could and going to see him. He took me out to dinner. So over time, we just started talking and started dating again. And as crazy as it sounds, we just picked up where we left off, and we wanted to get married still. We wanted to follow through with the plan of me graduating and getting married. So talked to my parents again. My dad was super mad this time, more mad than the first time, but for the same reasons of not wanting to be like kept out of my life. So the first thing that happened is Michael got me a plane ticket to fly out and marry him. So I went out there and I visited him for a while, and we knew that we had to get married at some point. We woke up on August 7th, 2008. Yes, 2008. And we're supposed to go get married at the courthouse. We already had all the paperwork filed. We just had to go and finish it up. And we slept in. So we decided to go the next day. And when we went there, there was like a ton of cameras everywhere, and it was because it was 8808, and when you turn the number 8 on its side, it's supposed to reflect the infinity symbol. So everybody was like dragging their husbands to the altar to get that wedding date. And I think it's really cool that we just kind of stumbled upon it genuinely instead of like trying to get it. So this is a picture of me on my wedding day. We wore matching Aeropostale white t-shirts and matching white Vans. So yeah, that was how Michael and I met, and that's how we got married. Was our relationship perfect? Absolutely not. We're completely different people than we were on the day that we met, because you grow and you go through stuff and you do things that you never thought that you would, do things that you never thought that you could. And so you're just like, you got to be prepared for that. You got to be willing to accept the change and to work through it. And for us, as much as I say it, it's the truth. Becoming Christians is what has kept us together, is what's kept us going strong. I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I have no idea how it came out until I am in the editing room, so to speak. As always, I'm just going to try to string together something that's interesting and informative. If you guys have any more questions about this topic or anything else, leave it in the comment section, and on this rare occasion I may not answer your comment because I'll probably include it in next week's Q&A. If you get a minute, I would really appreciate you checking out both videos that I did last week. I put a lot of work into them. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!